Okay, we have one fun position. Mostly grandmasters will just take a look and immediately the solution will appear in their head somehow. Subconsciousness probably just solves the position in a few seconds and gives us the solution, and then we don't even think what happened in our brain. But let's try to think about the position and try to forget what we know. Try to just do everything like a machine that is not very smart. And so I will count the material. We have 3 pawns versus 2 pawns. We are a pawn up. Black has a very nice threat. He wants to take king e5. Then the material will be same, and it's difficult to believe that we can win. Actually, we might have some problems even to draw the game. Let's say we go king g4, king e5. How to make a draw? Now, if we push one of the pawns, black will probably play like this. Then we are going to lose this one and the other one as well. If you try to push this pawn, what do you think black is going to do? He might naively take on f6 and win a pawn, but as we know, this is not going to help him because f4 is the only square on the whole chessboard that will guarantee us a draw, but luckily for us we can get there. So black might try to be a little bit tricky and go king e6 and wait for us to do this, but then he will win after king f6. But of course we are going to either protect the pawn or maybe just wait here, since we are going to lose the pawn anyway, and come to f4 only once black takes on f6. So if we just play a king move and let black take this pawn, then we might lose. What I forgot to say is that after this, black is probably not going to take. If he has any experience, he's going to push g6. It's somehow, for me, when I look at the position, it's very obvious that we are going to lose both pawns. Black's next moves are this. If he wants, he can wait a little, but we are going to lose the pawn on g5 and then pawn on f6 as well. So we don't have any time to lose, and the first move cannot be with the king. So we have to push some pawn. We have 3 options, 1, 2, 3. Let's start with this one, for example. If you push g6, now we have an incredibly strong threat. G takes f7, and black has to react. f6 would be terrible for him because after ef6, this pawn is going to become a queen, so he has to take. He simply has no other option. And now what will white do? If white captures on g6, black will do this, and then he will also win this pawn, and white can make a draw, but he has to show his knowledge of simple pawn endgames. So after this, white is not going to take on g6. What else can he try? He might try to push e6. What do you think is the best move for black here? If black is greedy and takes the pawn, then white queens and wins. So black should try to stop this pawn. He has 2 options to do that, and both of them are good enough. But the more logical one is king d6. This king is closer to this pawn, and that's important because you want to capture this pawn. Now, black is going to try. Okay, white might do something like this. Black will take, king e7, and this is an easy draw. Let's say like this. After e6, we cannot win. After f takes g6, we cannot win. We have only one more move to try with the pawns. This is f6. Black will take. After we take king e6, get the pawn and secure himself a draw. White can also secure himself a draw because when black has only one pawn, if our king gets on any one of these 2 squares in front of black's pawn, so first square or the second square, it's always a draw unless our king is on the last rank. When our king is on the last rank, we have to be sure. But if not, then 2 blue squares always guarantee us a draw, regardless of which side is to move. Yeah, this is the position. If black takes, f6 doesn't win, e6 doesn't win, taking on g6 definitely doesn't win. Coming with king, does that win? Let's check. Black can take on e5. It doesn't. We have to do this. After this, we'll lose the pawn, still make a draw, but that's not good enough. So let's go back to the initial position. g6 doesn't work. Now if you play f6, black has options, but not too many options, because we have this amazing threat. We want to queen our pawn on g8, so black can play g6 or take. 2 options. If he takes, we can recapture with any of the pawns. We probably should recapture with one of the pawns. If we recapture with this pawn, black will connect both pawns. We are still in time to get into a position and make a draw, but that's all. If you take with this pawn, then white is fighting for a win, and actually he can win by bringing his king to g7. So taking on f6 is bad. Black should just play g6. Now, white loses this pawn, and what is very interesting is that white will lose his remaining pawns as well. After g6, white is immediately losing all the pawns. He cannot stop this. We will have to play a king move. After king e5, we have this interesting position when black can wait on these two squares, then get a bit closer, then wait here if necessary, and finally just get the pawn. There's nothing white can do. After that, of course, the other pawn will drop as well. So we come back to the initial position. No king moves. This pawn cannot go anywhere. This pawn cannot go anywhere. So we have to try this. Of course, maybe this move is draw as well, and then what to do? We'll have to make a draw. But let's try and see what happens. We have two great threats to win our pawn. Black has only two interesting options. One is to take the pawn. The other one is to come here with the king. We still don't see any reason for this, but this might, who knows, maybe hold the position. So let's try first this one. This is the wrong option. Why is it wrong? Of course, white is going to take on f7, threatening to queen. Black has to come closer. And now white will simply protect his great pawn on f7.